Oh my God, I can't believe we made it! It is the end officially of season 1 for the love of Jaylah. It's your Jaylah.
Guys, I'm Gigi Rivera.
And we have our awesome, amazing guest for the season finale, Molly Hopkins from 90 Day Fiance, and some pillow talking I'm into in a little bit. Molly, how are you today?
I am amazing. Thank you so much for having me. You girls are gorgeous. Like, go power. You know, I always love doing these types of interviews with females.
Yes. It was amazing too. I love your earrings.
Thank you. I was trying to doll up for y'all. If y'all knew what I looked like 30 minutes ago, this is the best I could get out.
Me and you both. Because they had me, you know, as I'm like a Latina. I'm like an old school Latina mom at the end of the day. I got like an old soul in me. So, of course, it's the season finale of my show. So Gigi is my little spoiled favorite person to cook for. I don't eat too much, so I love cooking for people. So every time Gigi is in studio with me, I always make a meal. I have friends here from New York. My cousin's here from Costa Rica. So I made a whole taco bar. I made all of these like veggies.
Yeah, well, it is Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday, of course. But let's start off with, we call it el chequeo. So el chequeo is our ups and downs of the week. We start off every single one of our shows this way. You know, we all have good times, bad. It doesn't necessarily need to be a negative thing, but maybe something you had to like push through. So for me, my peak was I was in Houston with my family, which hasn't happened in many years. I've never been to Houston. My aunt's lived there forever. She's the eldest. My mom is the youngest of 8. She's the eldest of the 8. So to be there with most of my cousins, celebrating a quinceañera for my cousin's daughter, I cried. You know, I think the pit was me crying, realizing that pretty soon that's going to be me with my 6-year-old sitting there dancing and planning this party and my family all there. So it made me realize how time flies. You know, like I remember her being born and now she's 6, and now I remember her being born and now she's 15. So like those are my ups and downs, which is not necessarily a big down, but it's reality.
Well, I think when your kids are involved that, you know, sometimes it can be a downer. Like my child had the most amazing week. They were out of school last week. So I got to take some downtime from work and spend with her. Kelly came down. So we did some really great family bonding. And it was a beautiful, beautiful time, right? But she got sick like 2 days ago. So when your baby's sick, it's like for the first time ever, I'm grateful to have, you know, my own business and, you know, other things going that I can actually take those days to be with my child. So that's my high and my low, right?
Yeah, to have that flexibility. Like at least you have the flexibility, even though you're having a low right now, which is like, you know, she's sick, but at least you can be there for her. You have that flexibility. You're an entrepreneur. You've taken the opportunities that have been given to you and have taken it above and beyond, which is amazing. Can't wait to get into that. Gigi, what's your chequeo?
Okay, so my high was I was at a convention, like an investing convention over the week, and it was very interesting. We learned so much. I think it's important that we never stop educating ourselves and we never stop learning, especially when it comes to, you know, building wealth, generational wealth. So that was interesting. I mean, I kind of felt like I was back in school learning so much, but it was very dope. The low was all the money that they want that I gotta find from somewhere.
All that investing.
But they say, you know, you gotta invest in yourself. That's what truly counts. That's what truly matters. So I'm excited. Hopefully next year, you know, we all meet up again. I'll bridge.
That's awesome.
Well, now is the golden opportunity for real estate. You know, I keep getting offers left and right. All these people want to buy my house because I'm in Georgia and the market is skyrocketed here because everyone's moving here from New York, California, Chicago. Yeah. And so it sounded great. And I was like, well, I wonder if Kelly would want to move somewhere different when he comes. But then I just moved my mom in. She's older. She sold her house and she made out like a bandit, right? Because it's like 30% up above her listing price. And people are making offers well above that to get it. So, you know, I commend you learning all you can. I'm actually getting ready to take a couple classes myself because I'm at that point where I can do it. And it's like, it's guaranteed typically you're going to get your return back plus some. So
ideally, you know, obviously, you know, real estate, like you said, is booming. You have the opportunity to maybe make some of those transitions. If you could pick a dream location to live at, where would that be?
Honestly, somewhere tropical, an island, the beach.
Yes.
Somewhere with the Latin vibes. You know, Kelly's mom is from Panama. So he has that in him too. So you know, and like my soul, my spirit, like the food, the culture, really, really, I feel like I'm a beach babe. I would love to have a retirement spot there or start now. Maybe have like a little a custom bathing suit shop or something for when all the tourist people come. Obviously, right now travel's been on a halt for a while, but when it opens back up, I've definitely thought about it. I thought about it years ago, even back to the day when I had first met Luis. I found a villa on the beach, and I was just like ready. I mean, it's easy breezy. I feel like this rat race that we run every day here is sometimes it's too much. So I really would love to have a beach place and go.
Ah, beautiful. So, I mean, obviously, I'm going to rewind a little bit. Obviously, everybody knows you from 90 Day Fiance, and you also do Pillow Talk. You've done a lot of the expansions for what 90 Day is. I want to kind of take it back a little bit because sometimes, you know, different demos, different demographics, different shows might not know the core of all of that. So let's take it back to the beginning. Where was the Molly mentally that applied or that signed up or that could be? Yeah.
I don't know.
Took that risk to be like, yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna go marry somebody in 90 days. Like, where was that? Like, yeah,
honestly, my bestie was a binge watcher of the show. I knew nothing about it. And she called me one day and she's like, you're going to kill me. And I'm like, why? And she's like, well, I binge watched the show. I love it so much. It's my guilty pleasure. And at the end, it says, do you know anybody that's about to go through the K1 process? And she's like, so I signed you up. And I'm like, what do you mean you signed me up? And initially, I had no idea, like, and then I went back and watched a little bit of it, but I didn't know. And I think at that time, there wasn't as much of the crazy as there is now, even though there's some crazy couples, but the track record is really good. I mean, most of those couples are still together. As a matter of fact, like, there's only a couple and 2 or 3 in the franchise that haven't made it. But for me, it was crazy. I was a little vulnerable, I think, because I did not want to be seen in light of the way it was, because I didn't think it would turn out that way. Because I'm really all about like female empowerment in my business. And I thought, well, you know what? Not for nothing, but if we can film out LiviRae and I could show people what I do on my daily life, then it could be really a blessing for my business, which it has been. But at the end of the day, I had to go through that. And I'm glad, and I'm not going to say I'm like a martyr or anything for women, but I feel like because I just never really had time to break down and be crazy and cry and just go through the pitfalls. I had to pick my bootstraps up and keep it moving. And I think because of that, so many women come to me on the daily and they're like, how did you do it? How you just be like, you know, I'm crushing it. I'm going to keep going, because I don't have a choice. I have so many women that want me to talk to them and help them with bras. And then I have my kids, and it's like, you can't just lay down and not get back up. It was a choice I made, and it was a little crazy. I mean, I was just hitting my early 40s, right? And I'm like, okay, yeah. And I was, you know, in love with the country, in love with the culture, in love with just a lot of things, which also made me, I think, love him more. But it didn't work out, and that's okay, but I wouldn't take it back. I wouldn't take any ounce of it back, except the fact that some of the things, you know, in light of how it was portrayed is simply not who I am. But I think I came out on top,
I think it's just hard though, because we live, unfortunately, with social media, reality TV, with all of the stuff that we live through. It's all a perception. So even if you fully portray yourself as you are, people's mentalities are never on that same wavelength. So the way they see it is completely different than the way that you're putting it out there, even though it's as genuine as can be. And I know I run through that problem a lot. People see things different because of, whether it's the way you look or where you're at or who you're working for, those things kind of happen.
Yeah.
But I think that you've done such an amazing job at being so real and authentic with a lot of those. I was managing to watch some of the clips, and one of the things that really resonated with me was when I saw you had to break the news to your man that, like, realistically, you're 45, you didn't, like, you have your tubes tied. I remember giving birth to my daughter. I have a 6-year-old, and the first thing I asked them was like, "Can you tie my tubes now?" And they were literally like, "No, this is your first kid. You're really young. This is not happening." But I was like, "I want them tied." And and then I see your episode where you're like, "Yo, I have my tubes tied. I don't know if I want to go through the reversal. I don't know if I can handle that." And, for me, realistically at 33, I know there are things that I can't handle at this point, and I know that, like, I look at my mom, like, my mom is the youngest of 8. She has 7 older siblings, and I see what they deal and how many kids they've had in the world. Even my grandmother having 8 kids. I have 1, and I'm like, I need to have another one. So, like, you going at, your son, like you mentioned, at that point, your son was 20 years old and he wants to start all over again. For us women, that's a real conversation.
It really is. And I think for me, it's more of a conversation of, I had my daughter, my youngest daughter, in my, mid 30s, and she has a fragmented chromosome. Now, I was healthy as I could be. There's no determinant factor as to if you're going to have a totally perfectly healthy 100% kid, right? But the odds of that occurring at 46 are really good. And I told Kelly, I said it would be very selfish of us. Number one, there's tons of kids out here, and I understand where you're coming from, but I don't want to run the risk, because if something were to happen, and the odds are up there, right, for you to have a child that may not be completely cooked, let's just say it what it is, something could happen. And for me, I thought it's such a selfish thing, because that child needs you for the rest of their life. And if I'm starting that at 46, when my baby's, out of school, ready to go to college, I'm going to be mid 60s.
Yeah.
It can't happen.
I love that you're even, aware of it, though, because I'm sure there are some women who are like, I don't care how old I am, like, I'm going to have these kids no matter what. So I love that you're very well grounded and you're aware, like, okay, I am, a woman of age. These are the pros, these are the cons. And you talked about it, you worked it out. And I'm sure you mentioning that, like, very sensitive subject probably meant so much to so many women who have been in your
shoes. And a lot of people hit me up and they're like, what I got the most was, I will be your surrogate. And I'm like, there's just so much involved. Hell, my idea was, honey, can't you meet some young girl that's hot that wants a baby, and we could just have, like, everybody was like, are you crazy? I'm like, no, that just seemed like the most optimal thing to do. Like, I know most women wouldn't say that, but, like, it's also unfair to him sometimes.
But that's completely, I think that, especially because I come from a very old school and traditional Catholic family.
Right.
That those are things that they're like, no. But in the reality of the world that we live in right now, and if you're I think a lot of it has to do with communication, with self-awareness, with knowing who you are and what you're capable of as a person, and what you can give, what you're willing to negotiate and compromise. I think that makes a huge difference in these situations. And, like, for me personally, I really want to commend you on the fact that you're even okay with having this conversation out loud and in front of cameras. Because
well, thank you. It's not easy.
It's so jaded for a woman. Especially like when you know, like in your 30s, you're already like, ooh, be careful. And your 40s, like, don't talk about it. You know, like, so it's so beautiful to see that you're so strong in your self-will and your self-awareness as a woman, that you're like, hey, this is the situation. I still love you. Can we figure it out? What are our options? Like, let's communicate in this. You know, let's see where we can go with it. And I think that a lot of people, especially in the world of perception that we live in right now, communication really isn't in the forefront.
It's not. And I'm just so thankful, even down to the other shows like the Diaries and other things that I do with the network, that I tell them, I really want to be my authentic self. Like, I want to talk about real world problems. I want to talk about, you know, everything that's going on right now, you know, and race problems and women's issues and all the same things, but not from a political standpoint, from a person just day to day doing the thing. And with all the women and the mindsets that I come in contact with, I feel like I can, you know, talk about it because people want to know.
It's not about being political at the end of the day. Like nowadays, like it's unfortunate because, you know, everybody always has those golden rules. Like you don't talk politics, you don't talk religion. And now it's like, you don't talk vaccines. Like those are the top 3 tiers of things we cannot have conversations about because everybody has their personal opinions, views, and perspectives on those situations.
Yeah.
So for me, my question, obviously you've been through this process with 90 Day. Obviously it's changed your life. You've grown through this. People have seen you grow through this, and your life kind of like, you know, take a different turn. You're an entrepreneur. You have an awesome brand line, which by the way, I want a little bit of that lingerie. I like to look cute.
Yeah.
Myself. But no, like you have so much going on, you know, with all of this, you know, COVID, the pandemic, how is all of that, you know, with this process and still being under the camera and still dealing with your personal life, but still having a business and being a mother, like how has all of this been affecting you?
Yeah.
Girl, you just gotta get you some CBD gummies.
I was gonna say,
At
like,
the end of the night,
thinking about it.
you just eat your little candy and you just let it all dissolve.
Molly,
You know,
you my type of girl, Molly.
You just gotta shake it off.
I'm gonna need to take a ride to Georgia.
You gotta shake it off.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing for me is like openly and honestly saying every day, we will get to you, especially from business. I'm sorry. There's like 5 of us and there's 50,000 of you all. And unfortunately, the workforce and people's fear factor involved with COVID, and just the fact that people were given the opportunity to stay home and make money, but it wasn't what they were used to making, but they could get by. It's been very challenging to find solid help. And
Absolutely.
We're not a typical retail store. We don't stay open mall hours. We're not, you know, we've got tons of people coming in that need our help, but there's just a handful of us. So I think just at the end of the day, saying you're getting the absolute best that we can give you.
Yeah.
And we don't film all this time.
Authenticity, though. I think that's definitely part
Yeah,
of
and apologizing. My favorite thing to say to people is in truth and love. In truth and love, this is how I have to give it to you, right? Because even if it's not exactly what somebody wants to hear, you know, to say to somebody, I can't make this happen for you because I'm at the end of the chain of product or people or things in my store. And if it's not happening for them, it's not happening for me. It can't happen for you. But this is what I can do. You know, we try to come up with a solvent, and that solvent is not always solid. So it's just been a little trying, but you got to shake it off. And it doesn't matter what you're doing right now. You have to have your own private space. I live in the woods, so I can go out on my back deck and just breathe. I know just breathe is such a cliche thing, but just to be in your own space, not with a mask, not in a crowd, not worries, in your private Idaho, right? Just breathe in and let that shit go, right? You got to let it go. Otherwise, because I deal with it. Cynthia and I deal with it. We're dealing with that. We've been business partners 15 years. We're best friends. There's so much going on all the time. And it's like, you got to just go out and ground yourself. Take your shoes off, put your feet down, and let the environment, the universe bring it back to center and give you what you need. And I've learned how to do that better than anything in the last 2 years. I learned how to be by myself, and I learned how to just breathe. Really.
So this show is called, obviously, For the Love of Jaylah. The whole gist of it, and actually 90 Day Fiance was the whole inspiration for this.
Yes.
Having conversations with you guys on the Rick H show. Shout out to Rick, Craze, Ellie, and everybody on the show. I used to be on the Rick H show, and we had a lot of conversations with your cast, with Annie and everybody. And, you know, I went through a divorce in April. So I'm young. I believe in love. I think I'm a Disney princess in my head.
Have you seen you? Both of you are gorgeous. It's cool to be thinking that, right? You
think I'm a Disney princess, but I have really shitty luck with love. Like, ask my co-host. It's pretty bad. So it started as a segment, as a joke. Oh, Jaylah got divorced. Let's find her a date. The segment turned into a whole show, which is For the Love of Jaylah. So this season has been all about me finding love. Yes. I've been on a couple of blind dates that they've set me up on. I've been on a couple of my personal dates. But it really, we're in the season finale, so we got to be real about what's really been happening. It really hasn't really hit like the nail in the bud, especially after going through a divorce, being a single mom, having a beautiful 6-year-old daughter, especially having a girl. I think, as a mother, I have a lot to show her and be an example of like what she deserves, because what I accept is what she thinks she's going to deserve. So it's been a difficult season for me through all of this. I've gotten a lot of advice all over the streets of New York from different types of couples, single dads, my awesome, LGBTQ family, and every aspect. And, for my season finale, I've had to talk to somebody who at this point has something to actually give me with this you're a single mom, you're a badass entrepreneur, you put it all in public, you're a public figure. And a lot of people don't understand it, especially from a woman's perspective. So I'm asking you, Molly.
Okay.
Originally the idea of the show is that they wanted to send me to DR and find me a nice little Dominican in the Dominican Republic.
No, she wanted to go to DR and find the Dominican guy. The rest of us said no more Dominicans, Jaylah, but we just gotta accept that.
There's enough of them here.
In all fairness, my ex-husband is from Puerto Rico. Well, he's a New Yorican, so that doesn't count.
But Molly, what advice would you give Jaylah as far as finding somebody who, will accept her, will love her?
This is what I'm going to say. And this is the craziest thing. And I've had to learn this. And I've had to learn how to let a real man who really cares about me love me. Okay. I had to love myself more than I ever have. And the way that went down with Kelly is I was ready. I was here by myself. I had been away from Luis. I was just working on what I love the most, which is my work, my kids. And he stepped at me differently. He paid attention to the things that I cared the most about. Okay. He didn't come at me on some, you're so beautiful, what's up, all of that. The first thing he said to me was on a post I had posted where I was working for the nonprofit that I serve on, and I was helping some inner city girls with bras and doing like a nonprofit gig here and there. And he commented on it and he said, "You are an amazing person. Keep doing what you're doing. The world needs more people like you." Like, he noticed what I was doing, and he hit my heartstrings in a different way.
Let me ask you before you keep going. Was that comment the thing that kind of caught your eye? Because I mean, let's be real. Most women get DMs, they get comments, they get little emojis, they get all of that. Was that one like thing, or was it like a consistent thing?
Well, that was the beginning. And to be honest with you, I don't know how I found it because I don't know how many thousands of messages,
right.
but none of them were sincere. None of them. I didn't feel it. I didn't anything. I was totally like, no way. And I only talked to him through like social before I ever gave him my number for about 5 months. And I've never done that. I did it so differently. I tried to see what he was about. I let him pursue me. I've never let anybody pursue me. I always have been the more aggressor. And so it just worked out. But I'll tell you, I just let the person that's completely different from anything I've ever wanted come to me. And it's amazing. He's not a bad guy. You know, he's not one of the bad boys. He's not like, I mean, he's hot to me, but I'm saying like he's the teddy bear, you know, and he's got his thing and not for nothing, the hottest thing I thought about him at first was like, oh, he's a New York cop. That's great. And he's from Brooklyn. What's up? You know, and so that was so hot to me. But then what made me really care about him and get to know him better, obviously after 5 months, I gave him my number, but I asked him, what's the greatest thing that you've ever done being a cop? Because I needed to understand, like, you know, it's doom and gloom every day. And when he told me that he delivered a baby, that this Haitian woman was on the street having a baby and he had to take his uniform off and basically deliver the baby on the street, I was like, he said, that's the greatest thing I've ever done.
I saw that post on his Instagram, actually, that he got a memory from that.
And he is so, that is who he is. Like I saw it again this past week. Everybody's like, oh, he's not going to always open the door. He's not always going to make sure you're on the inside of the sidewalk. And I'm like, well, he's done it solid for a year. And this past week when we were at this little place together, this couple had a baby and luggage and all kinds of stuff. And they went about trying to get out the door the wrong way, their hotel door, and it was very heavy and it was about to close on the all the stuff, and he just instantly was like, whoa, and like pushed the door back and handled the scene. And I was just like, you really are that guy. Like, you're a protector, you're caring, you're kind. And for me, I knew that was in his core, because for him to still let that prevail out of all the crap he's seen, especially in the last 2 years being a detective, it's awful. And he hasn't let that penetrate his head and his heart.
New York hasn't been easy in the last year.
No.
When COVID started, I was living in New York. I moved back because my family lived here in South Florida. So I came home for that. I was in New York City. I wanted to stay in New York City, but things haven't been easy there at all for anybody. I know that you earlier said that he wasn't your type. So I want to hear from you because I have a vision of what my type is.
Well, I mean, as far as
my vision, everybody's like, no. So like, I would love to hear like what your type is, and like,
I don't even know that it was a type. I think it was for what I was accepting. Right. Okay. So we never talk. That's not video. He wants to see my face. He wants to see me. He wants to see my emotion. And if I answer the phone and I look crazy, he's like, okay, what's wrong? And that's difficult to do when you're away from someone, right? You can't always have that physical contact. That energy exchange has to be a little bit different. But when I first met him, I was really like, okay. And all I kept thinking was, something's got to give. Something's wrong. He's either cheating, he's a cheater, or he's this. And I was comparing him to everything I've ever been through. I've dated is assholes.
Facts.
No one who put me first or was concerned about me. It was always like, what can you do for me? There was never reciprocity, right? I'm still doing the same thing I do. I'm the chick that calls on the way home and it's like, I know the kitchen is packed full of groceries and drinks, but hey, do you need anything?
Aww.
I never had anybody that had that reciprocity right from the jump and was like, how can I do something even though I'm here, you know, and just it's different. You know, he's hot to me, but he's not like when you first see him, like a lot of people have this, you know, really beautiful, really fit, really this, really that, crazy stuff, or he's just simple as shit. And I love that.
I'm the type of girl, like, I will say it straight up. The love of my, like, the man of my dreams is Dwayne The Rock Johnson. And even he's too cut up for me. Yeah. I like my man with a nice little belly. I want to grab you, puppy. I want to grab your little butt. Like, I like to feel all that extra mushiness. I don't need to feel like, I don't want to wash my clothes on your stomach. I don't. That's what we used to do.
And it's just, you have this ideal maybe, or that's what I went for, or that's what I thought, or this, trying to keep up. Somebody who's always on the go. I have never been so happy just chilling at home on my couch. I've worked so hard to have this home, and it's like, I always thought I had to find something or keep someone entertained. Kelly, it's funny you said The Rock and you got that WrestleMania shirt on. Like, I love wrestling. I'm a wrestling fan. He is so down to shit with me.
It was so funny because I was like, oh my God, I was supposed to change my shirt and I didn't. But I'm a huge dork, and I wanted to bring that up actually because I saw in one of the episodes you talked about how much he is a Marvel comic gamer.
He's into anime, and he would totally dress up.
I'm a super dork. I love wrestling. I've been in love with Dwayne The Rock Johnson since I was 9 years old. I'm 33. That love has never changed. I love everything from the Raw Attitude era to now. I got this shirt sent to me from Tampa, WrestleMania 2021, because I wanted to be part of history, because I knew that was the first WrestleMania after a pandemic. And right now, vintage shirts are paying a lot of money, and I got a few of them. So I'm a girl. My daughter is 6 years old. She loves Sasha Banks. She loves Paige. She's into wrestling hardcore. So,
well, my cousins, my uncle was the Bullet from way back in the day, and my college roommate's dad was Axe of the Demolition from Axe and Smash. I'm older than you, so my family is very. And my cousin Brian is the psychological trainer for the WWE. So I got a little connect with the wrestling world. Most people don't know that because it's not just common knowledge.
Spanglish girl, like walking around, because I love like that whole era. I love the old schoolness. I love the back and forth. I watch all the documentaries. I'm a dork girl. I like old school gaming. I'm more of like a Nintendo 64, like
You're not even that old.
Like Nintendo, regular Nintendo, like all of that. Like I have all those systems still. I still got my N64. I play Wii with my daughter. I play Switch with my daughter. I'm not into like, Call of Duty and all of that, but I got a little that
like join a dating site for geeky girls. Maybe that's where you start.
Giving us a whole new
That's a whole new lane, because
I love it.
I am a Disney mom. I'm a Universal and Disney annual pass holder. I'm a Disney dork. To me, I'm a Latina Disney princess. Like,
I love it.
I just want somebody to put a big dress on me and make me into a cartoon and call it a day.
Well, that's what you have to look for. Is somebody who shares the same desires of your heart. And that's what it is. Like, we fall into these programs, right? We're born, this is what we're supposed to do. This is the norm. This is our family. This is our culture. This is our thing. And not everybody fits in that same program. Not everybody, that's their program, right? Like people say, oh, you should go to school, go to college. It doesn't work for everybody. So I think you just have to find what works for you, but don't settle. And I always say, if you get a feeling in your stomach and is it God or is it gas? Either one, then it's a no. Okay.
You need to let
intuition. Is it God or is it gas? But if it gives you either one of those in your gut, then you automatically know, and you cannot avoid the sign. You can't.
So what's next for you? Obviously, I know you're still, going through the relationship and discovering, what at this point, you guys are still in a long distance relationship.
We are. We're waiting for Kelly to retire, which is early next year. And it's going to be a huge transition. He's coming from up there to down here, and we were driving last week, and I said, babe, you're not in New York. It's okay. No one's in a hurry to get anywhere. You don't have to you're going to be waiting a second for somebody to turn. I was like, just take it in and really realize. And I try to let him come and spend as much time as possible because I could totally live up there. I'm a city girl at heart, but I'm country born and raised. But I need to make sure that this is something he can transition to, you know? And so for me, it's just still continuing that journey and figuring out how we're going to make it happen. But it's going to happen. For
and
sure.
I'm just saying it as a chismosa because I'm a Latina chismosa. You know, I'm a little gossipy. I want to know, as a mother, though, how has this transition been for your kids?
Amazing. Amazing. He loves my little one. She loves him. They have a beautiful relationship. Not only does he call and ask about me, he asks about her first.
That's important.
He asked about her first, and that's how I knew. And he cares, and he's already called me like 6 times today, and he wanted to Instacart me Gatorade and soup for her. Like, he cares.
That's so.
And I want to ask, like, realistically, I want you, because I say this often, but I would love for another mother to confirm this. How awesomely sexy is it when your partner or the person that you would like to be with have concern, or even, like, you know, her own, like, take care of or ask about your child and be concerned about that. Like, I feel like for me personally, that takes me to another level. When you care, when you want to be there, when you think of a detail, when you just ask a simple question, it doesn't need to be anything complicated. You know, how was her day today? And, like, that just means so much. And it's such a switch. Like,
it just takes it to another level. It's honestly probably the most important thing to me, because the relationship that you can build with the child that's not yours, it's super important for me, which is one of the reasons why Luis and I had besides Minnie, but he knew I had a kid. They had spent time talking for 2 years prior to this situation. And for me, it's like, I know what it's like to be a stepchild. But my mother was married to a man who wasn't my biological father. And if I didn't know, I would have never known. So I value that relationship. And I look at that in terms of, I don't want to be, you know, I had a situation with my stepmother, and it's like, I don't want to be that parent. And I don't want anybody to be that parent to my child. There should be no separation.
Absolutely.
And so he does a fine job of that. His family loves my little one. My older girl, she comes around, but she's 22, so she's out doing her thing.
Yeah.
But she loves him too. And for her to say, I love him for you.
Aww,
it's like the first guy ever. And he, if you didn't know, you wouldn't know that that's not their dad. Like, he just cares that much. And, you know, in a situation where I had someone who wasn't so great, that it's super important, girl, and it's great.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. So, Gigi, what's up? What's next?
Okay, so segment called Look at Us. So this is where we quickly run through the top 3 entertainment topics, entertainment news, and we just kind of, you know, speak a little bit on how we feel on each discussion. So I don't know if you've heard, but Miguel, I love him so much, amazing singer, and his wife, Nazan Mandi, she's a model. They actually called it quits after 17 years together. They dated for 10 years. They were married. They got married in 2018, so about 3 years of marriage. And the Shade Room just broke the news that they are no longer a couple.
It sucks. It sucks. And I think sometimes you grow apart. And I think sometimes that when you're both super busy and super famous and super going through things, that things can creep in and you can grow apart. I mean, I don't know the dynamics of their relationship, but I think he's amazing. I saw him at a show here in Atlanta, and he is amazing. But, you know, it takes a lot of time. And I think when you start out when you're younger, that you don't necessarily know if that's what you want. I can tell y'all wholeheartedly, being 46 years old, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt what I want for the rest of my life, what I look for, what I need. And it's a far cry different than it was 20 years ago, right? Or even in my early 30s, because you're still grinding. And they've both been very successful, but maybe they spent too much time being successful and not enough time, you know, being slow connection.
I mean, our rep did say that, you know, we decided to go their separate ways, that they've actually been separated for some time now, and that they both wish each other well. And I think after spending such a long time together, if there was no infidelity or anything, too crazy, like you can only wish the person well and hope that they find their true love, that you find your true love.
But I think that realistically, these last 2 years have been so controversial for so many of us personally as human beings. You have had time to sit there and reflect. You've had to sit there and think of like, what is it that you really want? Where do you want to be with your family? How do you want to grow? We've had actual time to think because the pace of our lives, especially in this country, has always been like work. Let's go. Yep. What's next? So when you take that and you get to reflect and you actually have time to face and not like the 5 minutes or not the, weekend that you get to actually spend together. I think that makes a huge difference, especially, between a man and a woman. 17 years, let's be real.
That's a long
time.
That's a long time. Yeah.
And no children. One of them had to have wanted a child. It's like Cassie and Diddy. Diddy didn't want it. What happened is the minute Cassie left Diddy, she had 2 kids.
Boom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm telling you, being in the lingerie industry, I've experienced it more than a lot of people because it's like our sexy sales and like the more fun, risque pieces have skyrocketed because it's like, okay, you got to learn. I said people are either going to get divorced, get pregnant, or they're going to fall so hard for each other all over again. They're trying to do more fun stuff, right, than they've ever done. They had to figure out a way to make it work.
Let me find out Molly's being Cupid right now with the lingerie, though.
Well, Jayla, I'm actually glad you brought up Diddy because this next topic I got, Diddy's actually, it's been reported that he's dating model and dancer Joey Chavez. She's beautiful, but she's also known as Bow Wow's baby mama and also known as Future's baby mama. So in a recent interview, Bow Wow, obviously they asked him about it because Diddy and Bow Wow, they're cool. They're in the same industry. And Bow Wow said that, he doesn't really feel any type of way about it. Him and Joey do nothing else other than just co-parent. And Bow Wow did admit to the fact that Diddy had about an hour and 15-minute long conversation with him about, dating Joey and Lord knows what else they spoke about. But Bow Wow did say that Diddy did call him, out of respect, and that it's all good, it's all cool. So I want to know, ladies, do you think it's mandatory for you to reach out to your friends if you're going to be dating their ex?
But I think there's a difference between being friends and then being colleagues. I think that means a huge difference. I don't
know. I will say I had a hairdresser that I used to.
Either way, it's messy.
Very messy.
And disrespectful. And I do think that unfortunately in trying times, because of the closeness of those relationships, of whether it's you guys are in the same circle and the same,
it's messy,
or the same people, it's messy regardless, but it's the reality of what really happens. And it's not saying that fundamentally it's okay, but there's
look, I'm about to sneeze. I'm allergic to it. I'm allergic to the mess.
No, facts. But realistically, there are people. Look at Diddy. Diddy's always been so fluid. Like, look at how his relationships have been with his exes. His baby moms is friends with his girlfriends, and they all raised a kid together, and they all did things together. So realistically, like, Diddy is in that fluidity, and people who know that they're around Diddy knows that that's across like a line that might
possibility. Yeah. Like I said, I was dating a guy, and it's been quite several years ago. And my hairdresser on and off ended up meeting him, and she called me and said, just so you know, I'm going to go out with him. We met. And I thought that was, out of respect, and it was okay. But what had happened was when they broke up, and he reached back out to me. We went out, but we weren't dating. We just saw each other again as friends.
Yeah,
she flipped out. So now she no longer speaks to me. So I don't know But I've been there. It's no big deal. You know,
But I think
I wasn't down to get back with the program. I just always really liked it. What's that?
I said, I think it's about a respect level, communication, and how mature you can be about things. Because I know that there's certain people in my life that I'm not completely ever going to be reconnected to. That, like, if one of my friends respectfully came up to me and said, look, you know, we kind of always kept in touch. Like, it just doesn't need to be messy. I think that if there's some respect in the lane, that it could be a possibility, but there's also the really old school people with those fundamentals that are like, absolutely not. If I touched it, you can't touch it. My food. It's like in Scary Movie when he's like, my food, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not.
Well, I think unfortunately, anything and everything that happens in the dating scene, in the music industry specifically, it's just always messy. So forever.
It's a circle.
It's a circle. They literally rotate and just go around a circle with all the females, all the men. Shout out to Cassie, who removed herself. She is happy with her trainer.
No.
They have 2 beautiful children. And
Cassie went from like, I'm going to be waiting for a kid forever to like, I just popped a baby.
That's all I got, ladies. That's all I got.
Molly, thank you so much for being a part of our season finale of season 1 for the Love of Jaylah.
Yes.
We got 3 minutes left because we're already getting yelled at by the men in our lives, of course. Shout out to our amazing producer, BX Craze.
Yes.
Rick from the Rick H Show, who has always taken care of us and has been the biggest pain in our asses this whole entire season. We love you so much. Directly from me and HR.
Yes. Well, I, guys, will not be moving forward with season 2. No bad blood, guys. Jaylah and I still love each other because I know there's gonna be people like, ooh,
but you know what?
I knew they couldn't work together, but no bad blood. This is Jaylah's baby.
It's not that. It's just like when you have an older sister and a younger sister.
Yeah.
I've obviously been through my own life experiences. I've been in this game for over 16 years at this point. I've lived my truth. I'm a mother now. Like, I have a different path. She is my little baby sister that has so much to give this world, and I want her to go explore it. And I'm like walking birth control. Don't have kids. Yeah. Go live your life. Go travel. Go live in Europe. Go!
No, but this is Jaylah's baby, and I just feel like I want to create or find, my baby, like my little child. So Jaylah,
she has been a phenomenal Thea in helping me take care of my baby.
I love you. I'm so proud of you. I'm always going to be here, always going to support you. Molly, thank you so much.
Yes, girls, anytime.
For our season finale. And Jaylah, tell the people what they can expect season 2, because I already know it's going to get spicy.
Listen, for the first time in my life, Jaylah, everybody has known Jaylah for what they wanted Jaylah to be, between my family, my career, everybody in work, all the companies I've worked for, they've all have had an image of who I should be. And for the first time in my life, I am taking full control, and For the Love of Jaylah is going to be 100% Jaylah. So season 2 is going to be rawness, vulnerability, truth, and realness, transparency, and everything that my real friends and the real people in my circle know who I am, that I've been very terrified to show the world, because everybody has told me I'm overly passionate and that I care too much and that I am too extra. So I'm ready to give this world the extraness that they deserve, because I am not going to stay shut, and I got a job to fight for.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in your corner, because Lord knows I know about too much and too passionate.
Too much, too passionate. No. I'm going to be the passionate, raw, authentic self that I am. And that's what season 2 of For the Love of Jaylah is. I know season 1, I tried to look for love. Season 2 is going to be what I need to do, which is find self-love and find what my next venture, journey, and adventure is going to be. And I'm really excited about that. And Gigi has been such a big part of that journey for me. and she's gonna miss my vegetables and the pre-show cooking.
I will still pop up every Tuesday.
She's like, I'm gonna be there. But Molly, thank you so much.
You're very
And,
welcome.
Let everybody know where they can reach you, where they can talk to you. What's your next steps? Let us know real quick.
I'm about to launch themollyhopkins.com because I had to separate, same as what you're going to do for the next season. I am half of LiviRae Lingerie, but I also have other business ventures that I'm passionate about and things that I want to do. So I'm going to have a new landing page for all things that I love, products,
If you model, let me know.
things. Absolutely. I would love that. And I can get your info and send you some stuff. But I'm just kind of launching off to that for things that I love. I'm starting Molly's Mantras, which is just like a candle line that I'm going to do. I know everybody does candles, but
I love it.
just things that have helped me, you know, the things that I read, things that I do, things that I've taken on. So it's just going to be a new website. I'm starting Raven's Romance, which is a toy company, because this past 2 years I've had a lot of people questioning me about that. And I think they assume because I sell lingerie that I sell toys, and I don't, but now I'm going to.
I think that's a whole nother podcast.
TheMollyHopkins.com. It's coming.
Girl.
That's awesome.
Safe space for women.
TheMollyHopkins.com. There you go.
Thank you guys. This is
You guys.
season 1 for the Love of Jaylah. Tune in the Rick H Show coming up 8:00. Uptown Live Media. Thank you guys for having us season 1. I can't believe it's over already. 12 episodes. It happened so quick. Molly, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much.
Muchas bendiciones. We're gonna have you on season 2 because we gotta talk about them toys.
Yep.
Let the world around us fade. We could love like this forever. Let the rest go.